Hey, welcome to the Power of Perspective, the talk show. My name is Shawn Francis-Coleman, and I am your host. I first want to thank you for allowing us to share these moments of your life with you. I think that we have a great topic today, our very first show. I want to thank my first guest, Mr. Justin Eberhart. He is a business owner, he is a proud father, and I want to have him speak a little bit about some of the things that he's involved in so that you can get to know Justin. We're going to be talking about, probably for the next 20, 25, 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about parenting and the difficulties that come with parenting in today's age. I don't think that we're the first generation. I don't think Justin's generation is the first generation that has had to deal with some of the difficulties with parenting. I think that that's probably been the case since time has.
For sure, since time began.
Right, since time began. But every time is different. Nothing really changes, only the faces. But before we get into that, Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a business owner here in Pittsburgh. I own Eberhart Marketing. I do marketing for businesses and also other entrepreneurs such as myself. And I also have a distributorship with me and Bella Scented Candles. They're the best candles made in the country.
I think I was talking to you. My mom loves candles, man.
Yeah.
I remember, I think I did an 8th grade science project, and she taught me how to make these candles out of a milk carton, and they were different layers. I thought it was kind of corny, but I had the best science project in class. I had everybody, hey Shawn, how do you make that? I want to go home and make some. And candles is like a multi-million dollar business.
Yes, it is. Who would have known? Who would have thought?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's excellent, man. I wanted to talk to you about parenting today because you have 5 kids who are in different age groups, and something you had said to me, a while back. You had said, my mom and dad. It reminded me of what my mom and dad told me. My older siblings, they're like in their early 40s. Me and my younger siblings, we're approaching our early 30s. My mom and dad always said, we kind of learned what not to do with your older siblings.
Right.
They're well off, they're doing very well, but they said it was kind of like trial and error. So you said that.
Yes.
So I guess one of the things that I wanted to start this conversation by asking you is that, what do you think are some of the salient difficulties today in parenting and child rearing and dealing with maybe the energy and the circumference of kids today?
One of the main problems I see that are dealing with kids today, Shawn, is the fact that kids just think that they hold all the power. And we as parents have to come to understanding to teach them that God's way is better than us letting them just do whatever they want to do. Okay. We can't allow our kids to have the fallacy of just thinking that whatever they think is right is right. And conspiracy with my sons, my oldest 2 boys used to have the mindset of might makes right.
Might makes right.
Yeah, might makes right.
What does
In
that
their
mean?
mind, I can beat you up, so you can't beat me. So what I say go.
Wow.
And I've dealt with that.
How does it get to that point?
It gets to that point, starting off, that first and foremost is mom and dad don't have a clear biblical view on raising them, and they're not on the same page with raising them. Mom thinks one way and things should go her way, and dad thinks something else, and then they got to fight just to have the proper say. And the kids see all that, and the fighting and the infighting in the home, and then all you have utter chaos.
So I guess I'm hearing a few things that you're saying right now. One of the things that I'm hearing, obviously, you're coming from a biblical standpoint.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan of spirituality. I know that there's a difference between religion and spirituality. I'm a fan of spirituality. Some of the other things that I'm hearing you talk about too is parents not being on the same accord, and also a power struggle.
Yes.
One of the things that, me being a professional counselor and therapist, when I go into people's homes and work with their parents and kids, once a kid believes and sees that they can have maybe more power than mom and dad,
they're gonna dive right in.
The parents are almost gone.
You're shot. Yes.
And once the kids see that, they're not gonna just give that back.
Yep.
So I mean, have you experienced that? What do you think of
I've definitely experienced that. Me and my wife, our oldest two boys, they're 19 and 17 now.
Okay.
So back when they were little, I would come home from driving my truck and I would see things in a disarray, and I would try to discipline my boys as a father should in the best way I knew how. But then I would get into an argument with her that's not right, you shouldn't do this, you could have did it like this, but okay, but I'm their dad, I'm doing it the best way I know how. I shouldn't have to argue with you to discipline and raise my boys the best way I see fit, because it takes a man to raise a man.
Right.
And I thought that was one thing that we had clear before we had kids. Obviously, I didn't.
That's powerful, because on one accord, that last point that you made, is there a conversation going in to having kids between
in this day and age? No.
And that's unfortunate.
Yes, because we're too young. But and this is another issue with it as well. To answer another question you will have later, but kids are having kids at too early of an age.
Yeah.
My youngest is 9.
Okay.
I just turned 39, so I had him when I was 30. That was my baby. That was number 5.
Right.
I had him when I was 30. That's still too young for me, because I wasn't fully mature in myself to be dealing with all the problems I dealt with my oldest 2 boys.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So we're too busy worried about playing house, just from a man's perspective, just having sex and having those needs all taken care of, and not dealing with or thinking about the real ramifications of getting her pregnant. Because I'm going to be honest with you, what I thought was, hey, I'm a truck driver. I've been a truck driver since I was 19 years old. I got the money. I'm going to pay for my kids, so you ain't have to worry about me being a deadbeat dad. But it's more to it than that.
Wow. And some people might take advantage of that.
Yes.
You know, I guess, so you saying 30's too young to have kids?
I'm not going to say 30's too young, but the maturity level has to be right. You got to know, you got to care about bringing this child into the world first and foremost, and then also care about doing it the right way.
Right.
A lot of people don't care about raising up a child the right way.
Right.
There's a right way and wrong way to do everything in life. You know that. You know, but we don't care about, okay, I got my girl pregnant, I got the money, so what? I'm gonna take care of it. But there's more to it than that. I've been paying for my kids all their entire lives. I'm about to start paying for my grandson.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But that still doesn't mean I did it all the correct way. Paying for them is just one aspect. You got to raise your child up in the way that he should go, so when they are older, they will not depart from it.
That's very powerful, because, you know, as you bring up, you know, I know you're a very strong Christian man. You know, and I know that the Bible says that money answers all things, or solves our problems, or something to that nature. I'm not very erudite with the Bible, you know, but I guess I do believe in God. But you know, one of my Christian friends, she always says, you know, she always brings up that, you know, the Bible says, you know, money solves all problems, or answers our problems, but it doesn't necessarily. Money is only one aspect of things. You know,
money's only one aspect.
There's character, there's morality, there's various things like that. I wanted to get back and ask you something about what you said earlier, because you had talked about how, you know, you would come home and, you know, there'll be arguments. Arguments are not always bad. Conflict is good sometimes, because it allows you to grow and see where the other person's at. My question for you is, you know, if you allow me to
please.
maybe delve into, not necessarily your personal life, but do you think that it's healthy not healthy, but do you think that there's negatives that come with arguing in front of the kids?
Most definitely. There's a lot of negatives that comes with that. One, I'm going to just be honest with you, it should never be done.
Okay.
Let me look into the camera. It should never be done. Okay? It shouldn't be done. And here's why. Here's why, Shawn. The kids see that power struggle between mom and dad, and then if they see an opportunity, especially a really rebellious child, which most rebellious kids are very smart.
Yes.
Okay, they will jump into the fray. They will jump into that power struggle and try to seize the moment.
Right.
Kids, just by nature, benefits them in every way, all the way around. You know, so if mom and dad have issues, it must be kept private between them.
Man, that
you
is so
have
powerful.
to keep it separate.
That is so powerful because I always like to say, you know, even in a literate child can read whenever mom and dad ain't on the same page.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I remember I used to always know if my mom would say no, I go to my dad when he was sleeping, because my dad, you know, he was a hard sleeper. So whenever he was sleeping, I'm like, this is my time. You know, Dad, can I go over Chris's house? Like, huh? Yeah. I can ask my dad anything. My dad was saying yes to everything. Dad, can I have $200? Yeah. Dad,
Right.
Can I go in your wallet? Yeah. You know what I mean? My mom had already told me no.
Right.
But like you're saying, like whenever you see some people who are on a divide, you see a conduit. This is the same thing that happens in the streets.
Right.
You know.
Precisely.
You take advantage of two people going at war in a way that benefits you.
Yes. So in essence, mom and dad has to develop. All this needs to be talked about before you even have the key child. Right. If you're talking about this after the child is born, it's too late.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So these discussions must be dealt with beforehand. Right, at the very latest, while she's pregnant.
Speak about that, because I want you to talk a little bit about, maybe looking back in hindsight, you know, speak about what people can do, you know, if you're planning to have a family, or if you are not planning to have a family, and maybe you're in a situation where you're going to be having a family that's unexpected. What type of questions, what type of conversation do people need to have to help to prepare for that child and that family in a healthy way?
Okay, to do that, I think is first and foremost, mom and dad must be of like-mindedness biblically.
Okay.
Because if you're not, you're going to have utter chaos. Let me do this one other thing. You're going to have utter chaos if you are not rooted biblically together. Okay? That's very important, because so many unintended consequences happen. Things that you don't foresee or you expect. Now, I ain't got to worry about that. It's going to happen. If you think you ain't got to worry about it, it's going to happen.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Brother Justin Eberhart. That's amazing information that he's sharing with us, and we'll be right back with Power of Perspective, the talk show. Hey, thank you for coming back and tuning back in to Power of Perspective, the talk show. I am Shawn Francis-Coleman, your host, and we have the incredible businessman and father, Justin Eberhart. Thank you again for coming on the show, man, and being our number one guest, man. It means a lot to me.
I'm honored.
Hey, man,
I'm honored.
I always say I'm honored to always be able to speak to you. So I guess what I'm hearing you say on one accord is obviously, you know, to have a strong understanding, and to be fervent, and to be very knowledgeable and genuine from a biblical standpoint, you know, and I would also add to that too, you know, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, whatever your religion is, and even if you're not religious, but to still have a strong sense of spirituality in the connection to God and connection to the human race and love.
Yes.
You know.
I would also add real quickly to that too. You got to want to teach your children too.
Okay.
A lot of people have kids and don't want to teach them.
Right.
They're a nuisance to them
Right.
in their lives, and that's unfortunate. You shouldn't bring a child into this world, and you don't want to have the mindset of being a mom and dad and taking on the teaching aspect of rearing your child. Because it's like I said, it's one thing to pay for them and have light, gas, food and stuff for them, but that's still not it. Your job as mom and dad is to mold them.
Right.
Same thing God's doing with us through our lives.
Right.
You have to mold your children and prepare them for life. And sadly enough, that was the other thing too. A lot of people don't take that to heart enough.
Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, is because, you know, there's an issue with child rearing, you know, and kind of, you know, maybe to go on to another topic. I don't want to blame the baby boomers, but I think that, you know, my research, of course I wasn't alive at that time, you weren't alive at that time, but according to my research, the baby boomers were the first generation of kids that kind of had that me mentality. And I think that the generations that were successive after that, it exacerbated. I don't see a lot of parents today who are really putting their kids ahead of them. I don't see a lot of parents today who are investing in their kids the way that maybe parents from past generations did. One example, in a sense, but sometimes we call ourselves investing in kids because we're buying them things, but we're not necessarily spending quality time with them. So in therapy, parents would tell me, "Well, I'm trying to give them everything I didn't have, Shawn." But now this is part of this young man or this young woman becoming a little monster.
Right.
Because they expect it now and they haven't done anything for it. You have great morals, character, and value. You didn't have a lot of this stuff growing up, but because you didn't have it and you wanted to make sure that they had it, now we have a little villain.
Right.
A little, and not just one villain. We got a whole
multiple.
We got generations of villains.
Yes.
Villains.
Yes. And that just goes back to one, kids having kids at a younger age. You know what I'm saying? That's the first thing. Okay? And then two, like you said, we need to do a better job of it's okay to be poor. Mother's friend, real quick story. My grandmother's friend got a brand new carpet. We had to go, me and my brother John had to go get the old carpet that was cut up in pieces to put over our hardwood floor in our living room. So I never knew what a carpet was until we had to piece together a carpet for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? That's how poor we were. Toughies, the tennis shoes with the $1.99 on the sole.
Okay, that must have been the generation before me. Right.
Now your generation and my kids' generation, if you ain't got or you ain't got a swoosh on your shoe, you ain't got shoes on. That's a real problem.
A kid told me I wasn't. I remember one time I gave a workshop, to one of the juvenile justice facilities and or delinquent facilities, juvenile delinquent facilities. Everybody loved it. It was great. After my presentation, the kid came up to me and said, "Man, I love what you said, but you're not real to me because you ain't wearing Jordans."
Wow.
Look what he said. He said, I love what you said, Mr. Shawn, but you ain't real to me because you ain't wearing Jordans.
Lord have mercy.
Wow. But I want to know, I respectfully disagree, or I don't want to say I respectfully disagree. I would like to seek clarification on what you mean by how it's okay to be poor. Is it okay to be poor as a lifestyle in general, or is it okay to be temporarily poor but to work yourself out of a situation?
That's what I'm saying. It's okay to start out in poverty and work your way up to and through having success. I am not saying it's okay to stay poor your entire life. Okay? It's acceptable to start out at 0. Okay? And work your way up to 10. Some people have been born with a silver spoon in their mouth, okay, and they start out at, let's say, 7. Okay? But that still doesn't mean that they are going to fall by the wayside, or they can still, it's naturally okay for them to move up to 10. Okay? There's nothing wrong with being poor. There's nothing, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You need to do what's best for you in life. Parents need to raise their kids with the mindset of, I don't have to buy you Jordans because the Joneses next door have Jordans. That's not how I'm raising you. When I can get us to a place, as mom and dad can get us financially to a place that y'all can put Jordans on your feet, then it's acceptable. You do not live through what other people are doing, and that's what our kids are doing. They see little Johnny down the street having Jordans on, so they figure they should have Jordans on. We don't know what Johnny's mom and dad had to do or go through to get to his Jordans.
So true.
And that may not be good for our home. Kids need to think about home. Mom and dad need to take care of home. We're doing the best. Kids need to have the understanding of my mom loves me, my dad loves me. They're doing their absolute best. My mom and dad aren't just laying around watching what is it, Maury all day, and what's the other guy, Springer all day.
Okay.
They go to work.
Right.
They pay our bills. I have a house to live in, a toilet to use. All that stuff count.
And
kids take that for granted too much.
You're right, and unfortunately, I think it takes a very special kid. Even if you come from a quote unquote a good home, it takes a special kid to have the awareness, the courage, and the ability to even have that perspective. Because you see some kids who come from getting these quote unquote good homes, but because at a certain age of being a kid, the strongest connection you have is to your peers.
But that could be taught
right. That's what I'm saying.
That needs to be addressed at home.
Right, and the earlier the better. So
yes.
when you instill those things in them, right, hopefully and prayerfully, you develop kids who are able to be individuals and to be able to have kind of like an immune system.
Right.
They're like a walking around healthy immune system. So no matter what society gives them or their friends give them, it can be flushed out.
Right.
But I still think that coming from some even good homes, you have some people who receive great messages, healthy messages, but because maybe they are innately or something about their personality and their being, they are so connected to what other people think. It does happen that those messages might not sink in or steep in till later in life.
True.
Till later in life. But that does not, just because you may be struggling with your child right now, I want to tell you that may not be long term. Because if you instill those morals and principles and values in them earlier in life, they might have a period of life where they're unruly, they're a little bit rambunctious, but eventually they can come back.
They come around
to that foundation.
Yes.
When all that stuff don't work,
That's
come
all
back
they have
and like,
left.
you know what? My mom and dad, they taught me better than this.
Precisely.
They taught me better than this. But the problem comes in the sense that what happens to the kids who don't have that strong foundation? But from the success that I've had on my own level at my age, I learned, wow, like money really isn't everything. Doesn't mean that I shouldn't keep trying to get it, but it doesn't necessarily fix everything.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily, when I say everything, it doesn't fix some of the inner things. But why I say that to say is to bring up the fact that before you get financial success, I believe that you should have to have some moral development, some spiritual development, some emotional intelligence, some cognitive intelligence. Be wise, be intelligent, because you can give $1 million to a fool and they're gonna do some foolish things.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can give $1 million to someone who's wise, they're gonna do different things with their money. So as we talk to parents, I think that parents need to, like you said, parents need, regardless of where you at, a 0, a 1, a 10, whatever, there's always more growth that you can do. So, but I don't see parents always working to get out of the situations, particularly poverty. I don't see a lot of parents who are actively trying to get out of that state of poverty. They talk a lot, but they don't necessarily take the action. So yes, strive for a different economic status. But as you do that, you also need to be striving for a different moral status.
Right.
Some more emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Some more, whether it's biblical or spiritual or whatever, you need to be striving to become a better person as long as we get more money.
Let's put it like this. The lessons that Dr. King had expounded for in his I Have a Dream speech are still alive and well, but we're not reaching for those aspects of life as opposed to just the money grab.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh.
And then another biblical truth I want to just lay out here too is God's provision. God provides for children. Children are a gift from God. The provision, God is the one who opens and closes the womb. God, when that happens, God has already laid out the provision for the child. Okay? So now it's up to mom and dad to be spiritually in tune with that. Trust God for that provision because he's going to provide it. Okay? And also that should really free you up to be able to mold your child in all of the things that Dr. King talks about in his I Have a Dream speech that we should be trying to impart to our kids. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Am I answering your question for you?
You know what, you are, and you're also hitting on something that I think that we miss a lot. Now, you didn't say it directly, but when you bring up Dr. King, and you're right, he's talked about so many things that we have forgotten. But you know, one of the salient and prominent things that I think that is the difference between Dr. King's time and our time,
Okay.
is the people like Dr. King, people like Malcolm X, people like a Gandhi or whoever it is, they were willing to give and sacrifice their lives for the betterment of not just kids, but humanity. And as I said earlier in the show, we live in a me society.
Yes.
And I think that one of the things that's going to continue to set people back as parents or just as human beings is the sense that people are not willing to sacrifice more of themselves for the future.
Right.
I talk to a lot of rich people, right? One of the differences in their conversation is that, you know what, I got enough money for myself. Now I'm working on my kids. Kids that they're never going to meet.
Right.
They're never going to meet them. But they have that selflessness to try to prepare for a child that you will never know. A lot of parents, I think that a poor-minded. So when I say poor, I'm kind of talking about poor-minded. When I think of a poor-minded person don't care about. You can say you love your kid all you want to. What are you doing for your kids? Right? I just don't think the parents have the selflessness to plan for that because they don't care.
Right. And I have to agree with you on that. It's going to take God to change hearts and minds. He's the only one who can do that. So we have to pray. We can get on our soapbox all day long,
Yes.
and try to do that. But one, I would say we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. You know, so that's first and foremost, and also with prayer. But we just have to believe God, that God's going to change their hearts and minds for that. I don't see no other way that it can be done.
Prayer and smart decisions.
Right.
You just said that. Prayer, you said, be the change you want to see, or be the change that you need to be.
Yeah. Other than that,
prayer is smart decisions, man. Pray on it. I agree. Pray on it, and then go do something.
Yes.
When you pray, you got to give God something to work with. Right. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of us pray, and then we sit around and wait for the prayer to come.
right.
Hey, you know how long I've been praying for $20 million, man? You know how long I've been praying for that?
You gonna still be right.
You know what I mean? Eventually, I have to say, you know what? Exactly.
Faith without works is dead.
Exactly.
What I've come to realize with my oldest two boys is everything that my uncle raised me, okay? And he raised me to be a lot like him. So everything I've come to find out as my oldest two boys were growing up, everything that I tried to, as far as discipline, I can't do now. Because CYF and other people, you might take a video with your phone of me disciplining my kids. I might get arrested.
Right.
And for me, if I'm doing it in love, if I'm disciplined, whether it be spanking or whatever I'm doing, if I'm doing it in love, it should be okay. Let me look at the camera and say, the only person you got to fear with raising your child is God.
Yes.
At the end of the day, because He is who you have to give an account for. Because again, God is the one who opens and closes the womb, and He is the one who gave this child to you for you to raise and mold. So I say that's the first thing. And like I said, a lot of things have been taken away from me. My sense of being hard on my kids has, in a lot of different ways, been taken away from me. And you have to learn how to, what they call, talk to your kids. Some kids need their butt whooped, man.
Tough love.
Tough love. And if you do it in love, I feel that that's okay. I have to make this argument for that. You can't take that tool away from a parent because some kids need it. That might be the only thing that reaches them. I have a 19-year-old right now. The only thing that reaches him that he will stop to think about is a gun to his head or a gun pointed at him.
By you or by somebody else?
By anybody. Other than that, he think he gonna whoop your ass, or darn sure gonna try.
So let's be clear with this. So I would agree that you're not saying that you're putting a gun to your son's head.
No, of course not. I'm not putting a gun to my son's head. But I sometimes wish. Let me put it like this.
He understands the ignorance.
Right.
That's all you understand.
Right. That's all he understands. I wish I was a G.I. Joe. You know what I'm saying, or a Marine.
You know what? I want to be clear too. And since I am in the field of therapy and counseling, so we actually, it can be a tight line because we have to report child abuse.
Yes, I understand that.
But I'm a believer in butt whoopings, and I'm going on camera saying that. But the law, when you look at the law doesn't say that you can't whoop your kid. It says
Right.
this, you can't abuse them.
Right,
You know
and
what I mean?
that's right.
So you can trust me. You can whoop your kids, but
Precisely.
when you start doing John Cena,
Right.
guns,
Drop them.
then it becomes abuse. But you're right, man. You have kids that they don't have that healthy fear, man.
Right. That parents must instill that healthy fear of them.
Yes.
And God is on board with that. God is on board with that. Because we as his children, we have a healthy fear of him. I know I do. I know I do.
I've been whooped by God.
Right. God's whooped my behind several times.
God whooped my behind yesterday.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
He didn't abuse me, but he whooped me.
Right, and then also too, and I think this is even tougher than a butt whooping, a physical butt whooping.
Right.
God allowed me to sit in a situation for 21 years until I figured it out.
Exactly.
If you go biblically, God allowed his people, the Israelites, to go around the mountain and right around it. The land that was promised was right there.
Right.
But they had to truck around it for 40 years before they were allowed to go into it. So sometimes that is even tougher than getting your butt whooped.
Oh man, I don't think sometimes. I think whenever God and life start having to teach people lessons, you wish you would have listened
Sooner. Yes.
Look, man. Hey, man. I know that I have several more questions for you. We're gonna have to come back and do part 2 of this, man.
That's fine with me.
Will you
That's
come back?
fine, yes.
Okay. So listen, Mr. Justin Eberhart is gonna come back. We're gonna have a part 2 of the show because this is so much more information I think he has to share. And please email me your questions at PerspectveLLC@yahoo.com. So for part 2, I have more questions that you want to hear and that we can assume that you want to get answers for, and we can give directly to Mr. Eberhart. How can the people learn more about what you're doing in your business, and maybe if they have some questions for you, how can they get in contact with you?
If you have any questions directed towards me, feel free to either contact Shawn or myself at justin.eberhart@gmail.com. If you have any questions at all related to my business, my candles, or anything, get to me via email and I will certainly answer them.
Awesome,
Thank you.
Awesome. And make sure you pick up some of those, not some of those candles, get a lot of those candles. You know, like I said, and my wife loves candles, my mom loves candles. You know, they make the house smell good.
Fantastic.
They make the bathroom smell good. And shoot, it's a good man right here. Support the man's business. Listen,
I'd appreciate it.
I thank you so much for being a part of the show and being our first guest on the show. If you all have any questions for me and my business, Perspective LLC, remember we specialize in anger management coaching, life coaching. We do public speaking. We have traditional counseling, anger management coaching, and we also have some online courses as well. You can reach me at Perspectve.com. That's www.perspectve.com. You can also email me, like I said, at PerspectveLLC@yahoo.com. Make sure that you take the eye out of perspective, because sometimes to broaden your own horizons, you got to take yourself out of your own perspective. My name is Shawn Francis-Coleman, and this is Power of Perspective, the talk show. Take care.